the reason that customers are going to use you if you're using subcontractors and not go directly to the subcontractor is because you can provide a better experience for them.
This is the Contractor Files podcast. Your hosts, Ethan McNeil and Trent Keith, take a deep dive into the construction and remodeling industry to uncover keys to success and pitfalls to avoid.
To our fourth podcast. And in this podcast, we're going to talk about how to handle subcontractors. I am Ethan McNeil, my brother-in-law.
I am Trent Keith.
Yep. And in case you didn't know, you probably are figuring things out, but Trent owned a construction business for 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway through that process, I got brought on board and helped him with the office and project management and estimating and whatnot. So we're sharing a lot from that experience. Also, I have experience in software development and helping companies kind of work on procedures and systems for the business. Trent has real estate experience and lots of customer service and sales experience. So we're bringing all of that together for you in these podcasts. So
yeah,
just wanted to throw that in there as our fourth episode. You're probably wondering who we are.
I know.
Yeah, now you know. So today we're going to talk about subcontractors. Subcontractors are a very popular route for businesses, not just in the construction industry, but all across the board in all kinds of different industries, because they're a way for you to grow your business without the headache of having to hire employees. You can get a specialized subcontractor to come in and do something that they do really well. You get to charge a fee on top of their fee to your clients, and it looks like your company knows how to do tile or whatever it is super well, and you didn't have to do hardly anything besides make some phone calls, set up appointments, and all that. So subcontractors, some people think it's like a passive income, not necessarily in construction, but in other industries I've seen businesses built on this like it's a passive business. But that is not at all the case, and should not be the case if you want to be a reputable business. And we'll talk about why. So the case for contractors. I kind of talked about it. You can build a business a lot faster. You got any other pros for why you would want to hire a contractor?
Subcontractor. I think a lot of times subcontractors are very beneficial if you are a smaller business and you have time frames you have to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're working for a company and you've said you will finish this job in 3 months, and with the crew you've got, it would take 6.
Yes.
Then you have to bring in specialized subcontractors for different areas.
Yep.
But just like Ethan said, you cannot just hire a subcontractor and go home and take a nap or play your video games and expect them to do an excellent job. You have to make sure they're doing things properly. You stay on top of them because you are still responsible for those subcontractors.
Yes. Yep. And two, if you're a small business, I think subcontractors can give you the ability to take on larger projects than you ever could as a small company. I know that there are some construction businesses that, and I don't know if I'd recommend this, but don't necessarily have anybody on staff that can do construction work. Their staff, their employees are sales representatives, estimators, project managers. They're more of a general contracting company. And so all they do is get subcontractors. They build a house for you, and they don't actually have any employees that could build that house, but they bring in the subcontractors and they get stuff done. So it's definitely a way to do bigger jobs, and you get to charge a good percentage on top of that. That's another pro. Sorry, hopping around. The profit margins on subcontractors is a set. It should be a set profit that you're going to make on that job. Whereas when your employees are doing it, things go over, you eat that overage a lot of times. When a subcontractor tells you, hey, I can do it for this amount, and it goes over, they eat that overage. And you still make your 10 to 30%, or maybe you doubled the price, I don't know what you did. But you still make your profit out of the job. So that's definitely a plus.
Yes, definitely. That's a rule of thumb. Although if you want to keep good subcontractors and they bid something wrong and they end up having a lot more time in it, then it would be beneficial to you to maybe lose a little bit of that profit and help them out a little bit. Maybe they'll work for you a little more readily in the future. But as a rule of thumb, as Ethan said, once they give you a quote, that's what the quote is. And then you're pretty solid from that viewpoint, where as employees, you never have that. They can take longer. You're still paying them hourly. If materials go over, you're still paying for those materials.
Yes.
Subcontractors is a lot simpler way to lock in where you're going to be on the bottom line.
Yes. Yep. So subcontractors are great. We've talked about that. How do you vet the subcontractors that you want to hire? You know you need an electrician or your plumber or whatever it is that you think you need on your job. How do you find the perfect subcontractor for your business? You want to jump in on that?
Sure. The perfect subcontractor may be a challenge, but finding a good subcontractor is like everything. If you can find one who is working around a job that you're involved with, and you see what type of work they do, what kind of work ethic they have, all those things, if you can see them on a daily basis, that's the best way to start building your subcontractor list. It kind of comes back to what Ethan talked about on another video that we done. If you're just interviewing and you're trying to get a list of some subcontractors that way, you have to do references to where you can call and find out who they work for and find out what they think of that subcontractor.
Yes. Yeah, and a part of that as references, ask for photos of their jobs. If they're any type of a good contractor or subcontractor, they're going to have photos that they can give you, probably too many photos of their jobs, and there'll probably be some funny memes in there too, because I don't know, there always seems to be. But you can get photos of their jobs and decide, is this how I want my job to look? I've seen photos that subcontractors give you, and it's like, ooh, that is not good. I don't know why you took a picture of that. Is that the before? No, that's the after. Okay. Another thing that you can do to vet your contractors is to ask them for a certificate of insurance. That alone will tell you whether that contractor has their act together or not, because it doesn't take that much money to have insurance for your work, and it definitely is a good safeguard if something goes wrong, that they would have insurance. So ask them for a certificate of insurance, and if they can't produce one, that would be a red flag, and maybe a way that you can be like, hey, I can't hire you until you do get a certificate of insurance, because I need to protect myself. I'm not going to pay the extra on my insurance to cover you while you work for me.
I was going to say, from our experience, just asking them for their insurance will vet about 50% of subcontractors.
Hey, what? What kind of insurance?
Well, I'll have to check into that. That helps. But no, it's a necessity. If you have a subcontractor on a job and they do not have insurance, you are responsible because you are the contractor.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what they do or what they have and don't have, it all comes back to you. So if you do not make sure they have insurance, you're putting yourself in a very bad position.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Again, another thing that is background checks. So especially if you are dealing with subcontractors who are going to go inside a client's home or work in a business where there's sensitive information, you are totally within your rights to ask for that subcontractor to go through background checks and any employees that they will have on the site. Again, it's a cheap. Yes. It's like $40. I don't know. You can find something. Maybe by the time that you listen to this, it'll be like $20-$30, and it'll be $1,000 to have a background check done. I don't know, but it's not an expensive fee, and it could save you a lot in the long run if you can vet a subcontractor that's got problems. So,
yes, definitely.
Yeah. You got other things?
No, I really think it's like everything, whether you're talking about employees or subcontractors or whatever be the case. Any extra thing you can do up front will save you a lot of headache if there's ever any issues, just like Ethan was saying with the background checks. You know, you may think, well, I don't want to spend $30-$40 per subcontractor, per each employee that they have.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of excuses that can go into that, but the little bit of time that it takes and the little bit of money is always worth it in the long run.
Yes, especially if you're going to be using them a lot. It makes a difference.
Yep.
And another thing to go along with that is contracts. So you definitely, I would 100% recommend that you have a contract in place between you as the general contractor and any subcontractors you hire. You need to have it spelled out in a contract. Again, have an attorney do it, or I don't know, there's probably places online that you could get templates done. But have it spelled out exactly what kind of warranty you want them to provide on their work, exactly what kind of insurance you require, if you require background check, any type of things like that, and how you're going to pay them. Let it be written out in a contract. You know, we will provide you with 50% or 20% up front, and then you'll get another check at this point and another check at the end. Things like that. And then again, inside that contract, you can also put non-compete clauses, which is definitely something I would recommend, because if you have a subcontractor that does not have a non-compete clause signed, they have no legal consequences. There might be some, I'm not a lawyer, but there's no written legal consequences that I know of that they're going to run into if they try to steal the customer out from under you. So having a contract in place when you hire a subcontractor is a must, in my opinion. Would you agree? You got it?
Yeah, I would. I would say really a contract so you're both on the same page, and then a warranty. You know, where we're from, obviously, 1 year workmanship warranty is pretty common. If they can't stand behind their work for a year, then more than likely there's an issue.
Right.
The tail light warranty is not very good. Once our tail lights are out of sight, the warranty's out. It's not usually a very good way to operate if you got subcontractors. But it is a thing, and it all comes back to the vetting process, because if you get good subcontractors, they're going to have all that spelled out. It's going to be real simple of how they operate and what they warranty and how they back up what they do. If you get the fly-by-night people who do not have insurance and have never done a background check and don't even know what you're talking about, but they're cheap, that could be a problem.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Subcontractors are great if you find a good subcontractor. They can help grow your business, make you money, make your customers happy. But subcontractors that you don't vet and that you don't have set contracts in place and procedures with them, you could end up having a real mess on your hands. one of the things that I think is important if you're going to have subcontractors is to have an employee on staff that can follow up on the quality of those subcontractors. And maybe this employee knows what they're doing, or maybe it's just an office person that can you give them a checklist of, hey, I want you to go make sure this, and this looks good, and have the customer sign off on the job. You need to have some sort of quality assurance in place as a company if you're going to hire subcontractors. And maybe even don't pay the subcontractor until that quality assurance checklist is done on your job, because it's going to ensure that your business outlasts that one job.
Yes, for sure. When you're working on somebody's job, if you're using multiple subcontractors, a lot of times keeping that a smooth flowing process can be very difficult.
Yeah.
And it can be extremely irritating to clients because they're wanting you to get there, do the job until it's done, and then leave.
Yep.
Well, if you have one subcontractor that can end on Friday and then the next one can't start till the next Thursday, then that client is feeling like they're losing multiple days there when work should be getting done.
Yeah.
So you've got to be very intentional about your scheduling and stay on top of it. Very communicative with the clients, that you communicate the process and how it's going to work, and that you could have those days, even though you're trying to eliminate those during the work, because you can sure have a project spiral downhill real quick if you don't communicate all those little details.
Yep, because a client doesn't even, in their mind, they're not progressing at all. They were expecting you to be there and to keep working until it was done. And if there's 4 days where there's nobody there, they're mad. Whether they act like it or not, deep down they're talking about you. More than likely they're upset because it's just human nature. You want to get your stuff done, and you started it, you should be able to finish it.
That's right.
That actually comes into the other point of the reason that customers are going to use you, if you're using subcontractors, and not go directly to the subcontractor, is because you can provide a better experience for them over what the subcontractor is going to provide. And that almost always comes down to communication. You have got to be good at communicating to your customers. Let them know, hey, I tried my best, but we are going to have 3 days where nobody's there. That's just, unfortunately, that's just how it happened. And that puts you above most competition, and that will be why you can charge 30% on top of your subs that are doing work, because you communicated. Because most of the time, subcontractors, they leave on Friday, you hear nothing. You hear nothing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Thursday morning they show up at 7 a.m. and you're in your pajamas and you're like, well, what? I didn't know you were coming. I didn't know you were going to be gone. I didn't know anything. So if you're going to have subs, make sure you think about the customer's point of view and their experience. You've got to make it better than any other customer experience happening in the construction world around you. And that's how you're going to get by with having subcontractors come in and the client not be upset.
That's right. And it can be things as simple as the communication, along with keeping the job site organized and cleaned.
Yes.
When you're using subcontractors, a lot of times they have no idea how to pick up after themselves.
Yes.
They don't know that they just took that trash and threw it on the ground, and the customer really doesn't want that blowing all over their yard or being kicked around their house. And so simple things, starting with communication and moving on to keeping the job site organized, making sure that people's treating your client's property like it's their own, and caring for things are big benefits in people feeling like you gave them the experience that's worth recommending you to their neighbors and their friends and family.
And that goes too along with that. Sometimes it's necessary to have an employee that maybe they're not a high dollar employee, but some sort of employee that can be at the job site to fill in the gaps that your company's standards have, versus what the subcontractor standards are. So it can be very beneficial to have your own employee on the job. Maybe they're there from Monday to Wednesday when the subcontractors are in limbo, and maybe they're just cleaning up and making things better there. But it provides a much better experience for the customer if you have one of your own employees overseeing the job as much as possible.
Yes, definitely.
So, I think that's it on subcontractors.
Yes.
So they are definitely a benefit, but you need to vet them and have quality assurance put in place. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
Right. So good luck with your subs, and thanks for listening.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast. Be sure to share this podcast with your friends and family. To ask us any questions that might get answered in our next podcasts, please visit our website, thecontractorfiles.com. Have a great rest of your day.